Hi everyone, I'm Kirsty, I'm one of the organisers of this event, and in this video I was wanting to talk to you a little bit about poetry. So poetry is a little bit different to stories. They're usually shorter and they are all about being able to express a feeling or an idea or an experience, and it's done through short lines. There are different types of poetry and you'll often see them looking quite different, but they're usually shorter to read. And when people read them, they can tend to take very different things away from them. A bit the same as you would in a story, where you might talk about it with a friend if you've both read the same book, and then you might both have different favourite parts. It's a bit like that different people, when they read it, tend to see different things in that poetry. Now, when I was growing up, I didn't really read any poetry. I used to read lots of books and hear lots of stories, but I didn't really know anything about poetry. And it was only when I got into high school that I started to understand that poetry was a whole thing. And even then, I didn't really know what I liked, because we didn't read enough different ones to get an understanding of that. So in the recent years, I have been reading a lot more poetry and have discovered that there's actually quite a lot of poetry that I really like. So if you haven't tried poetry, or if you've maybe read the odd thing but weren't quite sure, then I definitely recommend reading some more. And a great first book for reading is this book, which is called Poems Out Loud. So this is a book that has been published by Penguin. It's illustrated, so the drawings in it are by a person called Laurie Stanfield. There are 29 poems in total, but each of the poems is written by a different person or persons, which means that they're all very different styles, they're all about very different things, and there is all sorts in there to read. And then this one also comes with a CD as well, which actually has most of the poets themselves. I say poet, and that's because if you are writing a book, then the sort of technical name for that is author. But if you write a poem, then it's called poetry and you're called a poet. So if we talk about poets, we're talking about the people who've written the poems. So today I was wanting to read one of the poems from this book, Poems Out Loud, and it's a book that has been written by someone called Jay Hulme. Now, Jay Hulme is a fabulous poet. He tends to write a lot of poetry aimed at younger people, those for much younger ages, and also ranges for teenagers. He works a lot in schools and libraries teaching poetry, and has written some incredible stuff. And one of his poems is in Poems Out Loud, and Jay has very kindly agreed that he's very happy for me to read his poem from that book today. So his poem is called The Washing Up Liquid Ignited. So here goes. I built up a rocket of cardboard and tape, climbed right on board and tried to escape, with my bottle-top buttons and cardboard sides to keep me safe from alien eyes. The washing up liquid ignited, I flew, took a lap round the planet, stopped off at the moon, ate a sandwich on Venus and took in the view, posted letters to my mum saying I'd be home soon. And when I landed in time for my tea, I told stories of space that they didn't believe, but I pulled from my pocket a section of star to prove to them all that I'd travelled so far. After we'd eaten, I climbed back on board, reignited the washing up liquid, and soared. So you can see from that straight away, I don't know if you were like me, but I was imagining being on that rocket and going up to the moon and up to the various different planets. And it didn't take very long to read. It was quite short, but you can see how much it can make your imagination go, and you can start thinking about lots of things around it. And all of the poems in here do a similar thing, but they're all very different. So there might be ones that you really love in there, and other ones that maybe you're not as bothered about, but that will give you a good feeling for which type of poetry that you really like. So if you're looking to get into poetry, whether it's because you're wanting to read more, or even if you want to have a go at maybe writing some, then this is a great book to pick up, and it's Poems Out Loud. So I hope that's encouraged you maybe to start thinking a bit more about poetry as well as your storybooks.